Hello, I'm Odin and welcome to DIY Prop Shop, where we build props using everyday materials without breaking the bank. Today I'm going to make the chainsaw from the Evil Dead movies. The chainsaw has been a staple through all the Evil Dead movies and the television show. And in Evil Dead 2, Ash's right hand got possessed, so he chopped it off in the kitchen. Then once he was left with the stump, decided, hey, I got an idea, I'll go ahead and attach a chainsaw to it. And he was more than happy to give him a hand doing that. And so what we're going to make is the chainsaw hand from Evil Dead 2. So to start with, I'm going to make the body of the chainsaw. I thought I would use a container from Costco, and I can put a wooden closet rod inside of it, and that'll give me a place to hold on to. I've cut up some scrap plywood so I can build up a wooden box around it. This will be a very secure piece I can build the rest of the chainsaw off of. So as clunky as this looks, this is where I'm going to start. I'm going to drill pilot holes into the plywood, apply wood glue in between them, and then screw them together. And then I'll attach it to the plastic container. Lastly, use some more wood screws to attach the handle. Now that I've made the basic housing, what I want to do is put a piece of pipe here that I'll ultimately use for the side handle. All I want to do is cut off a piece of 1/2-inch PVC pipe and screw it to the plywood. Now I want to cover this with EVA foam and actually make it look like a chainsaw. And to do that, I'm going to freehand cut shapes out of this EVA foam, and then I'll glue it all together with contact cement. To mark where to cut the foam for the PVC to pass through, just press the foam against the end of the pipe. That'll work. Use the first piece as a pattern for the other side. Side one on that side. Probably make it look better if I can give it kind of that type of a shape. If I do it at 6 3/8 wide, it'll be great. By heating the foam, I can form it into the shape that I want, and when it cools, it'll stay that way, which makes it easier to glue. Because of the bent angles on the foam, I mark off where I want the pieces to fit together, so I know where to add glue. Brush contact cement on both sides of each piece you want to cement together. Allow to dry a couple of minutes and get tacky, then press the pieces together. Contact cement will work on foam, wood, most surfaces. Contact cement is much stronger than EVA foam. If you didn't stick it together right the first time, you will tear the foam trying to do it again. I wrap one long piece up and over the top. I will round the front of it off later. Trim the foam to the threads of the container. Then cut the corners to fit the foam snugly against the threads. And then cement them in place. Now carefully trim the front foam at the glue seams to start to give the front a rounded look. So I've got it wrapped in the gray foam. What I want to do is make the housing that goes on the side that covers the blade for the chainsaw, and the piece that goes over here that's the air intake for the motor. And the side that I'm going to do for the blade is just going to be foam. This is the piece that's going to go over the chainsaw blade as it comes out of the chainsaw. When I make my blade, I'm going to use styrene plastic and build it with multiple layers to give it some strength. It'll end up being as thick as the foam itself is, so I'm going to want to build up a little ring around this so the blade can go underneath it easily. Now that I've got where I'm going to put the chainsaw in, on the other side, I want to put the air intake for the engine. I'm going to use a 3-inch drain cover, and I'm going to take some sheet styrene plastic and make the vanes that come off of it. I want to mark where the intake gets attached, so after pressing the PVC into the foam, I scribe a circle, and then I use a heat gun to make the cut open up. That should work better than I thought it would. Before I cut the styrene plastic, I'm going to go ahead and take the roto tool, and I'm going to take the NDS off and round the corners. Now I want to cut the fins that come off the side. There's about 20 of them. I'm going to cut those out of sheet styrene. 1 inch. And these end up being angled, which is the fun part. So I'm going to go here to the corner. So now that I've cut 20 of these little vanes, I'm going to go ahead and just glue them all around the edge. Oh, that's actually like 10 inches. That's pretty cool. Since I'm planning on using PVC pipe for the handle on the side, I bought some PVC pipe cement, same stuff you use to assemble sprinkler systems. This glue will also glue the styrene to the PVC, so I'm just going to use it. I want to give the cement a chance to set up, so I'm going to set this aside without touching it, and now I can cut a ring of foam to go around the outside. For the part where his stump goes in, I've got myself a 4-inch flange that I picked up in the plumbing department. This is actually thinner than a typical piece of ABS. This is designed to fit inside of another fitting for whatever a flange is used for. But this happens to fit really nicely over to the threaded end. So I can put it on here and I can still get my hand into it. So what I need to do is go ahead and decorate this edge so it looks a bit better. 14.5 inches or so. To attach the red foam, I'm also going to use contact cement. And I only want to attach it to the fins, so this piece can be removed for painting. Now to make the handle, I'm just using PVC pipe. One of the things I wanted to do, I have a 1-inch pipe that's the thin-walled pipe. I have 1/2-inch pipe here. And the reason why I got the two different sizes is they will fit over each other. I want to make sure there's enough space in the handle that'll clear this. Again, I'm just eyeballing it. I think I'm going to go ahead and cut it off right here. Now the thin-walled pipe, I want to fit over it. And the advantage of the two pipes is it makes this part almost as thick as the elbow, and it'll look less like a sprinkler system when you're done. And this is what this glue is actually intended for. Because the inner pipe is smaller than the inside of the larger pipe, I'm going to wrap some tape on the inner pipe to make up the difference. So that's the side handle. Again, I'm going to leave this off so I can paint it. Something else I'm not crazy about are all the marks on the outside that really show that it's a PVC pipe. There's an easy way to fix that. The next part I want to do is the metal handle that goes across the top. And I figured the easiest way to make a metal handle that's got a bit of wood on it is to use a piece of metal and some wood. So what I have is a 1-inch aluminum bar. I measured it out earlier and made my marks. I'm going to cut the bar and then make the bends where I need them. Now, when I drill a hole, this front part will actually attach to the wood that's underneath the foam. Now I want to cut the wood for the top and the bottom. 4 pieces, all this size. Now the right type of glue to put these together would be wood glue, but that takes some time to dry, so I'm going to use contact cement. Now what I want to do is go ahead and sand the edges off to give them a slight bevel, and then just a little more contact cement. And that's how the handle is going to attach. So I'm going to take it off to continue. So the chainsaw blade will fit in there. So I think probably 26 inches will be good length. Chainsaw blades aren't perfectly straight. They have a little bit of a curve to them. So what I'm going to do with the ruler is set up with a couple of clamps and bend it to get the bowed shape that I want. There's no way I'm going to be able to copy this bowed line exactly again on the other side. I can make a center line, fold the paper in half at that point, cut it out once, and have a symmetrical blade. Once you have your paper pattern, trace it onto the styrene plastic. I only have to trace this once because my plan is to make a 3-layered sandwich for the saw blade. I'll have 2 pieces of this same shape and then a skinny piece to run down the middle. And then once it's glued together, I'll be able to put the foam in between for the saw blade. So I'm going to put this aside and give the cement a chance to set up. To finish this, I'm going to sand the edges round and then add the exhaust that goes in the back of the chainsaw. My plan is to cut a square of foam and then add a circle of foam on top of it, and then later I'll paint it black. Now I'm going to add the panel that goes across the top. Now on the top of the chainsaw there's a couple of caps. One that goes in the front, that's the oil for the chain, and then one in the back for the gasoline. Not that Ash ever uses that one. All I'm going to use are a couple of bottle caps. I'm going to cut some foam to fill the caps so I can securely glue them onto the chainsaw. The build for the body of the chainsaw is now finished. All I have to do is cut out the blade. One of the reasons for making a 3-layered sandwich is it actually makes the blade fairly stiff. And now that the cement has set up, I can cut it out. I'm going to use a bandsaw because it's easier for me. You could also use a scroll saw or cut it out with a razor knife and just sand the edges down. So now I just got to sand the edges down, and basically that's the blade. So the blade inserts right here, and directly behind it is a piece of plywood. So I can just screw it right to the plywood and hold it together. But first, I'm going to take it outside and paint it. So I've taped off the cuff because I want to keep that black, and then I taped off the PVC pipe because I want to glue to it later. The rest of this, I'm going to primer it white first and then cover it with red. On the side of the chainsaw is a pull cord so you can actually start it. I wanted to make one of those. I thought I would use a key minder, the same type of thing the security guard uses with keys. I'll just put this inside of here and add a wooden dowel to the end. In order to easily remove the keychain, add a safety pin to one of the links of the chain, and then it can't retract all the way. To hold the key minder in place, I'm going to cut some foam and hot glue it in behind it. Put the wooden dowel on by using an eye bolt and attaching it to the end of the chain. Now I'll hot glue the caps on. This top panel is actually supposed to be silver. I'm going to paint that with acrylic paint. I'm also going to paint the side vents and the exhaust. Now I'm going to attach the top handle. There are 4 more small angle brackets that go on the back. So the angles are a little too tall. I'm going to try and bend them down to a pair of pliers. That's all the physical detail I'm worried about for the body. Let's get the blade done. So a saw blade needs saw teeth. What I did was made a pattern out of a piece of cardboard, traced that onto some of the foam, and then cut the foam out with the teeth pattern. And when I'm done with all that, I can attach it to the blade. Cutting out the straight pieces is easy, but what I need to do is make a rounded one for the end. I'm still going to use the same pattern to make the teeth, but I'm going to adjust it as I go around the curve. The plan was to just put it in here, drill a couple holes, and screw it to the piece of wood that's under the foam. Now I could stop there, but now I want to cover it with some black goo and deadite blood. I'm going to take some craft paint, thin it up with some water, turn it into kind of a black wash, and just gunge this thing up. Put a lot of black all over the body. I want to add some brown to the body as well, and then I need to splash a bunch and gunk up the blade. My chainsaw from the Evil Dead. One really nice thing is that it doesn't weigh very much at all. It'd be very easy to carry this thing around all day at a con. Let us know in the comments below what other things you'd like to see us do. If you try any of these projects for yourself, please send us a picture at DIYPropShop@break.com. And if you haven't done so already, don't forget to subscribe.